welcome to Collaboratory, the show where Mike Morris improvises an animatic with a little help from our audience, and we learn about the craft of storyboarding along the way. This is an improv art stream that runs on audience suggestions. So Mike, what kind of prompts are we looking for today from the audience?
Well, first of all, welcome back, Aaron. It's good to see you, buddy. And Aaron is our first returning guest host, which is awesome. What we're looking for today are three things like we always look for. We're looking for a couple of characters. We're looking for a setting. And finally, we're looking for a conflict between those characters. So, yeah, get cracking, audience. Let's see what you got today.
Yeah, feel free to jump in with your suggestions in the chat. Whatever you type might show up on screen. You could control Mike's pen. All your dreams can come true. Whatever you want. So just feel free to drop us a line on that. Until then, Mike. So
Aaron, first of all, you know, we've been working together. We've worked together off and on for a while, ever since Future Worm. So now I'm going to pick your brain a little bit about storyboarding. Okay, our theme is rigged animation, right?
Yeah.
And I know you've worked on a bunch of different rig shows. Rig shows, like harmony rig shows, as well as like puppet shows, like with all of the stuff you've done in Stupid Buddy Studios. So when you think about rigged animation, what's like the first thing that comes to your mind? Like what sort of establishing factor does that have when you're like, oh, I'm boarding for a rig show?
Well, I think of it as like a very new way of doing traditional animation. So I think about the difference between rigged and 3D, because that's the other major thing that goes around right now is like 3D animation. So with rigged animation, it's like a traditional animation, characters that it's almost like a limited animation a lot of times. So you'll have characters on a flat background. It won't be like a 3D background typically. You can still animate the characters fully, and rigged animation you can do like I mean it's still like full traditional animation. It's just kind of like a way that you could preload the characters' poses, so you wouldn't have to redraw, say, a character's head every single time the character moves.
Sure. But like, how does that affect things like your staging and what kind of shots? Because I know what, like, I'm working on a rig show right now, and one of the things we have to keep in mind a lot of the time is sort of the limitations of the rig that we have, and so you know you have to kind of take your up shots and your down shots really sparingly, and only like when you really need to. So you're not like totally breaking the rig constantly.
Yeah. All right, Mike, I'm going to get you drawn real quick and then we'll come back to that. Okay. So Simon 31, thank you for commenting. Here's what he came up with. He's thinking a character, a leprechaun. I'm not sure if that has anything to do with the fact that I have red hair, but we'll go with that.
Aaron is a descendant from leprechauns.
Yeah, something like that. The setting in the country, conflict from Simon 31. Pot of gold goes missing and it's not at the end of the rainbow. It's pretty fun.
Well, I mean, it is March. We did just go through St. Patrick's Day like 10 days ago. So maybe we need just one more character that goes with our leprechaun missing his pot of gold.
Yep. All right, so if you got another idea for a character, go ahead and post it. Simon, you're welcome to post more, of course. But we can talk more on that rigged animation stuff.
I think, you know, kind of what we're looking at right now, I think we can start with just like a big wide shot.
Yes, show us your storyboarding magic, Mike. That looks like a rainbow in progress.
Yeah, and you know, I can just take this same line and just kind of like manipulate it a little bit, so I have something that like looks similar to what we normally do. Okay, so Ireland, I am not totally familiar with everything.
Clovers. Just
as
hills
far
of
as
clovers and pots of gold.
what we've got, I know it's like very island-y, so rolling hills. Let's do some of that. Maybe I know from like some of the stuff with Cartoon Saloon, who has
stuff.
some pretty amazing stuff that they do. That there are sort of forests and things. So
okay, we got a couple more little things here. Animate Sam has a good idea. Easter Bunny as a possible conflict. So it's like leprechaun, Easter Bunny, pot of gold. Also, Pearl says clovers, trees, grass, blue sky, rainbow. I would also think, rain. I mean, when I think about the country of Ireland, I think it's rainy, right? And there's like bogs and stuff, but
so we need
cliffs. They have like those big cliffs.
Yeah, we definitely need some clouds, because rainbows, obviously there's been rain. And we need some fun like sort of jig music in the background. So Aaron, do you wanna do some
hold on.
Irish
Let me get my accordion. I gotta get my accordion, okay?
Okay, please do.
All right. Well, you're drawing that. I do want to get back to rigged animation a little bit. You were talking about like in rigged animation shows, you might not want to do like really heavy up shots or down shots. And I was thinking, yeah, that's true. I mean, you could do them technically if you wanted to, but you would just have to like redraw those poses and like incorporate them into the rig, right? You just like kind of plug them in. But can you speak more on like why you'd want to do that limited, Mike? Like why don't you want to do something like really dynamic or really
I don't
heavy
think
stuff, down shots, up shots?
I think that you can have some plenty dynamic poses with rigged animation. I don't think that's really the issue. I think a lot of it just has to do with how far you're willing to push a rig in the animation, because the rig also needs to be done in certain ways to make it the most malleable version of itself it can.
Right.
I don't like that. I'm just gonna straight up draw it. So let's get some, let's get something into this rainbow so we see that it's actually a rainbow. And I'm gonna come over here quickly, and I'm just gonna turn up the smoothing on my pen, because I find that when you're doing stuff like this, you're trying to follow lines, even if it's just in a more tertiary way. Sometimes it's just nice to have a little bit of extra backup.
Storyboard magic.
Yeah, turn that up. We'll put some orange in there, and I turned it on draw behind, just so I don't have to necessarily be as precious with it, because only really part of it's going to show, And I'm sorry
also,
for
the audience. We should remind everybody that the audience could chime in anytime, and we'll try to talk about whatever you bring up. And this is audience participation if you'd like to chime in.
So apologies right off go out to my friends Graham and Dale, who are from Ireland. If this does not look like where you live, I'm sorry.
I wish that I lived there. That's beautiful. You got like a nice lake there, beautiful clouds, rolling hills. It's really nice looking.
Thanks, dude.
Yep. All right. So
we got indigo. Let's get into indigo. It's a darker blue.
I want to ask you, like, why rigged animation? Like, what are the benefits of using rigged animation?
Repeatability, first of all.
Okay.
You can have a character rig, and it's not something you have to draw every single time, which, if you're doing a series or something like that, that makes it a little easier to actually get it accomplished.
Right.
Because you're not having to worry about like animating every single little thing all the time.
Yeah.
And that sort of dates back to like shows from like, way back in the day, like the Flintstones and such, So like they
limited animation stuff, right?
they developed that limited animation style, right? And that sort of carries on into a lot of rigged art, because like I think it's sort of solving that problem of having to just recreate every drawing every single time. I mean, full animation has amazing results that happen with it, but at the same time it can be cumbersome to do for long-term series work. So
especially like a whole season of like 20 something episodes, when you think about that, 20 minutes a piece, you're talking about several hours of animation, where even a Disney feature film is only 90 minutes of animation, like Aladdin or Beauty and the Beast, So
for sure.
And I want to say, even with something like that, with the Jetsons or Flintstones or something, back then they would have to still create cells with a new, say, head, even though they always have the same kind of like looking head. They would have to trace it onto cells every time they wanted to use that. And with rigged animation, it's like you just save that design, save that head, and you can use it again and again when necessary.
Sure.
But I think there's a misconception about that making like stiff animation, but I don't think it has to be that way, because you could still go in and use special poses.
Yes, there's special poses, but there's also like, what in contrast to like the Flintstone style, where it's like everything was on a different cell, right? I mean, you can do that with replacements, but there's also you can do just deformers. You can sort of deform things into the area that you really want it to be in. Sorry, we're getting a little granular with this background, but we just want to really hit home that this is, we're putting the emerald in the Emerald Isles.
Mike, the background looks great.
So
we're still waiting to see that leprechaun, though.
Yeah, we
just
are.
Don't screenshot my face and put it in there, okay?
Oh man, the temptation is there right now to do that. Now, since you said that, now I have to do it. I think you sort of wrote your own doom there, my friend.
Oh goodness, I might deserve that.
So let's put a little bit of this in there. But so at the end of the rainbow, and then like in a comic sort of situation, you'd have like a big sort of thing, But we're not gonna do board speak here, so let's not do that. Let's go to a new scene here. I think we need to start with sort of some. I think we need to start with a series of bushes and stuff like this. A lot of time in the Collaboratory, we're not about pretty drawings. We're about descriptive scenes, emotional resonance, and other such fun niceties. And then we'll have, the actual rainbow falling into these bushes here.
So, story-wise, like, I don't know a lot about the lore of leprechauns and their pots of gold. Is it like the leprechaun, is he guarding the pot of gold, or is he looking for the pot of gold?
You really ought to learn more about your own culture, Aaron.
I think he's protecting it, right?
Yeah,
he dances around it and like plays a flute or something.
I'm sure there's all kinds of different tales. I mean, if you are in the chat and you are a aficionado of leprechauns, please let us know like what we're getting wrong, because we want to be as true to the mythology of leprechaun kind as we can. I mean, there's movies like Darby O'Gill and the Little People who kind of go into it quite a little bit more extensively. I remember watching that as a kid. And you know, there's the one leprechaun from The Simpsons who tells Ralph to burn things.
And there's Lucky Charms too. And
Lucky from Lucky Charms. So like, if we go by Lucky Charms rules, then he's definitely defending it. You know, because he's trying to keep these kids away from
marshmallows.
Charms. They're always after his Lucky Charms. And so let's change this background into something that like gray. You know, so we have you know, the different colors or whatever that are coming down here. But I think we need to just duplicate this shot here. And
all right, we got a question on our chat from Jeffrey Legation. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. It is, hi, is it possible to use symbols to navigate between turnaround poses? Is there a convention to this? So I think that's mostly like a Harmony, ToonBoom Harmony animation question. I don't know much about symbols, but I imagine there's something that makes it easy to navigate between turnaround poses. Yeah. Do you know anything about that, Mike?
You know, I think there's the master controller way that you can set things up with the master controller. You know, I think that's like one of the prime ways that people do that sort of thing. Let me see. I know when I've done some rigs, they just like put it into certain states, like, you know, the turnaround states, and you just sort of copy and paste those overarching keyframes. I know that. Yeah,
it seems like it's like a compressed library of poses almost is the way I've seen it work. I'm a storyboard artist like Mike, so mostly I just know about storyboarding for rigged animation shows, but when it comes to actually animating the rigs, I'm not an expert. But the way I've seen it is, it's like all these poses or like different hands or facial expressions or you know, turnarounds and all. It's all like compressed into one character, right? And then they just move that around. Like,
I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, you'd have to. I mean, ToonBoom has a learning library that you can totally check out, and see like everything that Harmony can do as far as symbols go. I know that symbols aren't as big of a thing in Harmony as they are with other animation softwares, but you know, just I'm sure that on the ToonBoom learning site that you'll be able to figure that question out, because unfortunately that I'm not as familiar with the symbols area of things.
I think we need to take a second to appreciate the fact that Mike is doing this drawing while he's talking and trying to focus on two things at once. It's pretty great, and that's a pretty awesome little leprechaun. He looks like a grumpacon. Pretty awesome. Mike, I kind of wanted to ask, like, what are some examples of different shows that use rigged animation? Like, do you know any?
Well, the show that I'm working on right now is called The Tuttle Twins on Angel.com, and we use rigged animation. We use rigged animation on Future Worm. We did rigged animation on Mulligan the first season. We did rigged animation to a certain degree on parts of DuckTales, but that a lot of it was like traditional stuff, but in programs like Harmony.
I'm pretty sure that we're all using rigged animation. I'm over at Bento Box Studios right now on Crapopolis, and I was
for sure. I know, like Rick and Morty, I think, is a rigged show. Like, dude, rigged shows are more common than not.
Yeah, these days it's like most TV animation is rigged. Or it's funny, we still call it TV animation. I mean, streaming, or it's like the series, like if it's a traditional look.
Episodic
kind of like
animation.
Yeah, episodic, like kind of like how Simpsons would be, or like uh, you know, Rick and
Serialized
Morty.
Adventures.
I think Inside Job at Netflix. I think that was puppeted or a rigged show also. So it's like a very, very big thing. It's really great to know how to storyboard for this type of show. It's actually pretty much all I storyboard on these days.
Well, it's what everybody's doing.
Yeah.
For the most part. I mean, rig shows, like, I mean, you have like shows like the Loud House at Nickelodeon that's all rigged, and I mean, I guess the assumption would be, for the most part, that it's going to be a rigged show. If it's got a 2D look to it. Okay, so let's get him popping out of one of the bushes.
In a way, it's like you're already like rigging like this character because you used his head. You just copied and pasted his head for that last movement. So it's like you've created like a little head rig that you copied and pasted right there.
Yeah.
To a limited degree.
Let's give him like a little 4-leafer right here.
Tell me you're gonna have the Easter Bunny coming in. That would be so great. Maybe the Easter Bunny's coming for the pot of gold.
Well, we'll have to see, won't we?
Oh, we have other questions here. Sorry, I stalled on these. I was distracted. All right, let's see. Animate Sam says, is it always good to start with an establishing shot?
Not necessarily. You can start with any number of different shots. You know, it just depends on your cinematic sense, you know? If you want to start out with the shot that sort of explains your environment a little bit.
Yeah, it kind of like is like a brainstorming point, right? Like you could kind of see a big picture and say, in just a couple seconds, you could draw trees, a lake, island, a rainbow, like all these things, hills. And it doesn't take that much time to say, okay, well, now where do I want the character? And you could say, well, he could be over there, he could be over there, he could be over there. And you could kind of place your scene using this like little sketch that you had. So it's fun to start with an establishing shot, I think, too. But
I mean, you can start with close up. You can start with any number of things. Like if you look at, I mean, you just have to look at any kind of cinema, really. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. Like, for instance, I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan, right? And they start off Return of the King with a real like big rack focus shot with a hook and somebody putting a worm on a hook. You know,
Schmeagol. Well, actually, I don't know if it was Schmeagol in that shot. It might have been his buddy.
It might have been Deagle, but
yeah,
I think I don't know. It's I'd have to watch it again. But
yeah,
that's probably not going to be too much longer. Though I'll have to wait for that because like I said, I'm a big fan. So
yeah,
I tend
me too.
to watch those movies like at least once or twice a year in their entirety.
You're a good man, Mike. That's a great thing that you're doing there.
I just am a big fan of good cinema.
All right. Jeffrey says, wait, don't leprechauns have a weakness of counting? Isn't this a weakness? I don't know anything about that, but I'll believe you if you say so. Maybe they don't count their gold. They just like a pile. They like to have a pile. I'm not sure. This is so funny that you're just making this leprechaun like poke up from all these bushes. We're just sitting here talking, and you're like, he's poking his head out of all these bushes. It's pretty fun. And you can see Mike didn't like draw those details of the bushes. They're really just a quick sketch. It's just to get the idea across that it's a bush, you know, it's a bush. And that's all you really need for a storyboard. If you want it to be more detailed, you could go back into the storyboard later after you've decided, oh, this is actually the shot that we need. Like maybe if Mike did this whole storyboard, he might go back and say, oh, I didn't need this shot after all. And then it's good that he never made those bushes really detailed, because it would have been a waste of time.
Because storyboards are often very disposable. So once you get things locked down, that's when you start to, you know.
So I could see what you're doing, how you're processing, getting through this process is you're like copying and pasting the panels, and then so what that does, what he's doing there is he's saving all the layer information from his previous setup, and he's saving the background that he had, and he's able to just delete the old drawing of the character and start drawing again. Mike, do you mind using the onion skin or turning that on so we can see like kind of where your character came from, or we can show the audience? So you can see with the onion skin, all the previous and panels that are coming up, if he's drawn them, and kind of use that. I mean, Mike doesn't even need it because he's got it all in his head anyways, but I think the onion skin's such an amazing tool in this, in ToonBoom Storyboard Pro. It's really great for keeping track of like movement of the characters through a scene. All right, let's see. We got a couple more comments. Jeffrey, you're welcome. I see you said thank you about the master controls.
Jeffrey.
Doodle Marks confirms you can also start your sequence with a close-up shot. Yes, I think that is definitely feasible. All right, Jeffrey got back to us again. Since you're both storyboard artists, what if you're trying to secure a gig as a storyboard artist? What would you prioritize for your best portfolio pieces?
Depends on what you want to do. I mean, if you're applying to an action show, you're not going to do comedy boards. You're not going to show comedy boards. If you're applying to a comedy show, you're probably not going to do, you know, drama boards. It just depends on what you're going for, what your end goal is.
Yeah,
I
recommend
portfolio piece for an action show could be the worst portfolio piece you put in for a comedy show.
Yeah, I recommend narrowing down what you want to work on before. I found it really hard to say like, oh, I want to, like, I've got all these comedy show pieces that I have in my portfolio, and I want to do an action scene. Like, I can't use any of those comedy samples to apply for the action job because I'm just not going to get it. So it's kind of like you got to gear your portfolio up before the job even gets posted. So you say like, I want to do action. So you have to start putting together those storyboard pieces. So that way, when the action job comes up on the boards or whatever, on forums or on LinkedIn or whatever, you're already ready to share your portfolio. You don't need to say, oh, I got to really quick whip up an action sample, you know, just for this one job. Because
by the time you're done, somebody's already done it, you know?
Yeah, and you're never going to get that expertise. Like, when to get hired, you need to have like a better proficiency in the thing that you want to do than anybody else. So if you're spreading yourself thin and trying to do everything, you're never going to get that like high-end professional looking board sample, as you'll never get it to the point where somebody else who's like, I only do action and that's like my specialty. They're going to have the coolest action board samples out of anybody, you know, they're going to get the job. So that's what I think, at least. That's how I see it. What about you, Mike?
No, I think you're right. I mean, specialization is definitely a thing. Specialization is definitely something that a lot of people like to do. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where, like, what do you really want to do? Like, what kind of stuff, like, floats your creative boat, you know? And just do that. Like, if you love comedy, great, do comedy. You know, if you love action, in, then do that. Like, you're going to be known for something.
Yeah, you got to go with the ebbs and flows. Like if you say, "Oh, I want to be a action board or if I want to be a comedy board artist," and after a month you don't have a job, if you give up, you're probably, if you say, "Well, now I'm going to do this other thing," then you're likely not going to get either. They say, what, a dog that chases two rabbits doesn't catch any, or something like that. Anyways,
something like that.
Speaking of rabbits, Mike, I want to see this Easter bunny.
I'm sure you do. In good time, my friend. Good time.
Okay.
We got to set this up. We got to set this up that, our leprechaun friend here has something to protect.
I love him, by the way. I love that you made him a grumpy leprechaun, because that's just so great. He looks great. All right, we got a couple more comments here. Animate Sam wants to know about timing. How does one get better at timing out their scenes? Sometimes some shots feel that there isn't enough frames for acting.
Well, I think you just have to kind of develop a sense for it.
Yeah.
If you want to get better at timing, like, just do a lot of timing.
Yeah, and
stuff that involves timing.
Yeah, and regarding this, sometimes some shots feel that there isn't enough frames for acting. Sometimes there isn't enough frames for the acting that you might want to put in, and that's when you need to, cut some things out and only put in the poses that are, or beats that are only important, that are the most important, and you don't need to have some of these subtle things that you might think you need. So it is about refining and being critical of which poses and keys that you really do need, I think. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, sometimes
need more comments.
Sometimes it just comes down to editing.
Yeah. You're not timing these yet. Do you think you're going to go through and time any of this stuff, Mike?
Probably not.
Okay. Well, that's all right. You're drawing, and that's, I think, the best part of storyboarding.
I mean, it's going to be pitched at the end of this.
Right. All right. Okay. The clown bot says, do we have an antagonist yet? Maybe a robot that eats gold coins for food.
Well, the Easter Bunny.
Yeah.
The Easter Bunny right now is our antagonist.
Definitely.
But the robot idea is interesting. What if he's a robot Easter Bunny that eats gold coins? Or like a minion of the Easter Bunny?
Maybe the Easter Bunny robot eats the coins, and then they come out of his belly as like chocolate coins or something. Those chocolate coins?
Oh, they're like chocolate coins that come out as Easter egg.
So the Easter Bunny is like stealing the leprechaun's chocolate and turning them into, or stealing his gold coins and turning them into chocolate. I think that would really make that leprechaun pretty mad. All right, let's see here. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe Mike will do that. It's an idea. Okay. I feel like we should talk more about rigged animation.
I think you're right.
All right, so in regards to storyboarding for a rigged show, can you tell me more about like the concept of drawing on model, even though the animation is rigged? Is it important to draw on model, and why?
I think that, especially if you're doing pre-production for a rigged show, I mean, not everything's going to be totally, model perfect every single time, even though the rig would indicate that. But with the acting and with the, you know, some of the stuff that you're doing with that, sometimes it can get a little nebulous as to what you want in the final. So yeah, I mean, you being able to draw and model is a skill that should be cultivated.
Definitely. Also, it has an impact on the composition.
Yes.
If you draw a too far off model, like say you're drawing the characters with their heads that are way too big, or their arms are way too long, or their legs are way too long, or they're too thick, and it could affect the composition, and then the people that animate it might try to match it somehow, and then, you know, even
and
though
everything's all kinds of off, and it's not on model. So the closer you get in the boards to being on model, the easier time the animation house is going to have to, like, you know, work with that.
Yeah, totally. Now, there's like some tricks I use to get characters on model. Typically, now, other than, you know, just tracing it completely, but you could actually drop model sheets. Mike doesn't have a model sheet for this leprechaun, but just so you viewers know, you could take model sheets and just drop them straight into ToonBoom Storyboard Pro here and have it displayed right next to your drawing, so you could have instantaneous reference right there in the program, and you know if you're getting too far off model, and if your proportions are wrong, or
another trick too is to make stamps. Another trick is to make a stamp of your character, so you can just pop in a bit of reference just on the fly.
Is that something you could do real quick? I know you're trying to get the storyboard done, but does it just, might only take a second, right? If you do a stamp of a head or something.
Sure. Let's take a stamp of this. Okay, so here's what we'll do. We'll come over here. We'll select this, and then I will get out the stamp tool. Right, here's one of the standard ones from ToonBoom. But what I'm going to do is come over here to the plus. I'm going to say plus, and I'm going to say leprechaun.
I don't actually use stamps, so I'm not very familiar with it.
So now I have a leprechaun head, and I can turn up the size if I want to.
There you go.
And then I just make the stamp. You can get pretty crazy because all these are individual vectors that you can then select and do whatever you want with. And
so
you can
it retains the vectors?
Yes. And it also can do like progressive states. So you can have like even a walk, you can stamp a walk cycle if you need to. Again, ToonBoom Learn, check it out, get on that, and you'll be in good shape. But yeah.
Right on. All right, Jeffrey's commenting. There's a scene that I thought to be canon. I think he's talking about for Leprechaun lore from a series called Supernatural. There had been an episode with a killer leprechaun who got distracted by rice grains thrown on the floor that he counted. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like maybe he's like super into or like mesmerized by counting. It seems like in a lot of folklore, every mythological creature has their sort of weak point that they have, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right, so yep. All right, Mike, can you tell us where you're going with this leprechaun bouncing out of the bushes? I really want to know what.
So right now he's just sort of like, you know, spying out the place, jumps out, you know, and he's sort of, you know, for anyone who might be an intruder, he's showing force.
Well, what is he protecting?
We know what he's protecting. He's protecting the pot of gold.
Well, yeah.
I mean, we kind of established that at the beginning of the stream, dude.
Yeah. You're right. What am I thinking? I just want to see you draw the pot of gold, man.
We're getting there, dude. This is a 90-minute stream. Like, come on, relax.
All right. I'll relax. Got it. Okay. So.
I know you're super anxious though, so we'll try not to keep you waiting too long. Another trick I like to do, Aaron, is just turn on just a different color.
It looks like the same color.
Well, it's the same color almost as the onion skin, but these are still just vectors. I can then select by color.
Oh, okay. So use that as like
yeah, sort of like a pseudo onion skin if I don't want to use onion skin.
Okay, cool. I've never seen that.
And so now we can just have him sort of stand up. You know, seeing as there's no danger in the near vicinity. And then, of course, we need to have his mustache be sort of smiley.
It's so funny because you're like working on, I'm looking at your screen and I'm so used to working in ToonBoom, like trying to like circle or like select your lines. Like, I'm like, can I select that? No, I can't select I'm not used to looking at somebody else's ToonBoom screen. So it's like not being able to interact with it is funny for me.
Well, you know, maybe someday that they will put in a collaborative feature that we can both draw on the same canvas at the same time.
Wouldn't that be wild?
If you guys want to see that, let the fine folks at ToonBoom know. And I think it would be an amazing addition to the software. That's already something that we love. So let's have him sort of spin his shillelagh around.
What's a shillelagh?
Shillelagh is a little walking stick, an Irish walking stick. Also a clobbering stick.
Okay.
I think a proper shillelagh is made of heartwood, which is like the center of the tree that's like super hard and dense.
I have no idea. I've never heard shillelagh before.
Really?
I think actually the word itself kind of makes me think of like an old Dungeons and Dragons spell called like that.
Yep, there's a Dungeons and Dragons spell called shillelagh where you have a quarterstaff and it makes it into like a bigger cudgel and you just smack somebody with it. I think it's a druid spell, I believe.
I didn't know that it was a real thing at all. But there it is.
So he's convinced that there's nobody around. And now it's time to, so he's doing, jumping out. There's nobody there. So now it's time to get down to business. And we'll add in a little bit of a, finger twiddle here.
What's the finger twiddle for?
Just for magical funsies.
Okay. Awesome.
So we got this. And then, you know, he can maybe have a little bit of sparkly leprechaun magic.
Yep. Wait, does he have a coin like going on his fingers? I wasn't sure. It kind of looked for a second like, you know how they do that thing with the coin, like they could roll it.
Oh, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Maybe he's just adding a coin to the pot, you know, and he's got a coin that he's oh, that's a great idea. I like that better than just magical stuff.
That's always this trick I'm jealous of. I don't know how to do that, you know? People that can do that.
Roll. You know, he's got a little coin roll. And we can, you know, add that in different spots right here. So another thing too, sometimes when you have two particular poses, you need to hit in a certain way. Like you can just sort of manipulate the vectors a little bit. And then do like pose 1, pose 2, right? And come back, drop in another frame, and then just do the in between. You know. So boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
And then what do you say we just do a little insert shot here? We can get rid of that one because we don't need that. We can just do a new shot and have it be, you know, him manipulating this thing with his finger. We cut in on the finger, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you really like that idea. You're giving it a close-up.
Yeah, man.
So you're from the four-finger cartoon crowd, huh?
Well, dude, I spent like almost 9 years working on The Simpsons.
Yeah, I'm not judging. I'm just saying.
Aren't you though? Aren't you judging just a little?
Isn't it funny that there's like this great divide in the animation world? It's like always a topic on every show that you ever work on. It's like
you can do 3
four fingers or
yeah,
4 or 5, or I guess if you're including the thumb, it's like 4. It's like a 4 or 5, or you'll spend like your first 2 or 3 weeks drawing the characters with however many fingers were on the last show you worked on, and then somebody says, "Oh, no, we actually do it with 4 fingers," and you go, "Oh my gosh, I've been drawing 5 fingers the whole time." You ever have that happen, Mike?
No, not generally, because I'm kind of a model sheet nerd.
Ah, okay.
And so I always try and study the model sheet fairly closely before I get started.
That's great. Model sheet Mike.
All right, and then we can have like you know, the leprechaun coin.
Is that like Granddaddy Leprechaun?
Could be. And we can cut in even on that. With just a little simple. Let's just do just a little quick push in. So we go whoop right in on that coin. Let's duplicate that.
Tell me you're gonna make that coin wink.
I was thinking about it.
I knew it.
Or he can just, I mean, the winking might be a little stereotypical, so maybe he just, opens his eyes.
Yeah.
And then he can, like, even have some sort of magic involved here.
Like what?
I don't know. What do you think?
Like the coin has magic? It might be kind of funny if he like tips his hat or something, but magic, I don't know, maybe.
Oh, tips his hat. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm. Trying to think of magic.
He's
he lifts his hat and he's got more coins underneath.
I
don't know. Sometimes for the audience, for the audience, sometimes you get to really come up with your own ideas while you're storyboarding, and some directors really like that. Other times you got to follow the script pretty closely, but it's always a fun thing to try out some new ideas and say, hey, I'm going to pitch this idea and see what my director thinks of it, and sometimes they love it. Like, it's always fun to try new things.
It is. It's always, and you should never stop exploring different storytelling possibilities. That's something that you should always be cognizant of and willing to explore at a moment's notice.
Mm-hmm.
Always, I think one of the things that happens sometimes is people lose their curiosity, and that becomes an issue when they're doing creative work, because it shows that they're just kind of going through the motions. I was recently at the Salt Lake Animation Expo, which has just been recently rebranded as the Sketch to Screen Summit. It's a really great place for indie animation people to gather and meet one another.
Cool.
It's pretty awesome. So I had a great time in Salt Lake, and that was one of the things we talked about quite a lot was, getting that passion, getting that, curiosity going on in your work.
Yeah. Being able to like maintain the magic of it all, right?
Yep.
Instead of settling with, it's my job. Yeah, that's actually something that takes effort. Gonna say, I think if you're like self-critical too, it helps. Like, did I just do the minimum of what I needed to do, or did I spice it up a little bit?
Yeah. Just put a little bit of extra oomph in there.
Yeah. Be willing to experiment with something that might get shut down. You might have scenes that you do or things that you experiment with that it could get cut, and that's kind of like part of the job.
Yep.
And overall, it'll just make you a better board artist to try new things, I think. I would say
no,
so.
for sure. I mean, that's definitely a thing. I'm gonna turn on my onion skin real quick here so I can.
All right, the clown boot says, "Is this one of the chocolate coins?"
I guess
I don't think it is.
Find out.
I don't think it's chocolate yet, but I guess I shouldn't spoil it. Maybe Mike has got some secrets up his sleeves.
And I'm just gonna do some quick things here, because I don't want to spend all this time doing stuff that we can just sort of blow through.
Mike's downplaying what he's doing, but this is the secret sauce. He's just like, yep, I want to get him to move. Something like this pose that he drew right here, the one that's onion skinned right now. is actually typically, if it's being animated, it would only be on the screen for a split second. So it doesn't make sense for him to go in there and make this super fancy drawing if it's just gonna fly by, you know? Maybe save the fancy drawings for a pose that's gonna be held a little longer.
Yeah,
I would say.
yeah, that's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah, it helps.
And then we'll just have him kind of like, you know, zip behind the thing here. Let's scooch that leg a little bit further. Whoop.
I love
And
that
then
the leg stretches so
it'd be
much.
kind of fun if you just, you know, put in a little you know, like this, and he like backflips into the place or something.
You know, I'm thinking about like how these kind of jolly characters, they like click their heels, you know?
Yep.
At some point we could have a clicking of the heels.
Sure. I think we can do that without too much fanfare.
All right. I got a few more questions about rigged animation, Mike.
Yeah? Do you? Cool.
Yeah, I do. Well, I just want to pick I want to pick your brain. I do.
Okay.
I want to pick your brain. How does storyboarding for a rigged animation show differ from storyboarding for a 3D show or a fully traditional or live action production?
I mean, each of them has their different strengths and things that you can do. I think with a CG show, you can free up your camera a little bit more because you're going to have access to the 3D camera. So you can move things around, and turning things in space isn't as big of a deal as with a rig show, where your assets are a little bit more fixed. And what you're trying to do in a rig show oftentimes is to make sure that you know, you can use those assets in the way that they're designed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have sort of a set stage that you're dealing with, and you have to, you know, you kind of have to,
like you're rotating the set.
Limitation.
Yeah. It's important to know what the end product is going to be when you're storyboarding, or like what kind of style you might be going for. If you're just doing, like, I think there might be a misconception about, in general, not between you and me, but in general, about just storyboarding is its own thing for no matter what type of show you work on. You can do the storyboards however you like, but you might get yourself into some tight spots if you're, say, like, try doing a animated camera for every shot. Like the character's walking and the background's animated the whole time. I mean, except if you're Miyazaki or something, like, I think he did that quite often, or he's done that quite often. But
well, I mean, you have to know like what your budget is and what you can do, like,
with
reason. Also, I mean, not all filmmaking requires that you do, you know, that sort of thing all the time.
Yes, he put the heel click in. Awesome.
So, and we can even do, like, just move around some vectors. So boom, boom, boom. And then just, we're going to duplicate this one. I'm going to turn the onion skin off so it's not distracting. And just move that over. So you can be like, doop, doop. And then whoop.
I love that this leprechaun is like totally grumpy until he pulls out his gold, and that just cheers him up completely.
Yeah. So like then he's just gonna
Perfect.
like head dive into the bushes. Whoosh.
All right, Jeffrey is commenting, so I'm going to read it out loud. He says, "This is a bit controversial. However, there's a feature with unlimited undos on the software TV Paint. It can undo all the way from a fully populated canvas to an empty blank canvas." I would.
Okay, sure, awesome, that's great.
Yeah, I think I don't find that controversial. I mean, really, if you wanted to undo your whole canvas, I would say you could just delete the file and just make a new one, you know? So
yeah, I mean, it sounds convenient.
Yeah.
More than controversial.
I've never had to really, you know, if you got to start from scratch, I would say there's probably even faster ways to do it than just sit there and hit undo a bunch of times. You could just delete the panels or whatever. But I would say if you're storyboarding something, even if you're not using certain drawings that you've done, you could always set them to the side and save them for later. And you might actually say, hey, I think this scene could actually work in this other spot. Like you could kind of move them around and stuff.
Sure. But I mean, if you need to take something back down to square one, then you know it's either it's good to start over, or I don't know, like there's something happening in the production process that you need to go back to the absolute zero with. Then I'm afraid you have more problems than just the amount of undos. That
yeah, it might be like your story might have a problem, or or something like that.
So I mean, cool feature, but yeah, I mean,
yeah, I don't find any like shame in using the undo button whatsoever. Like if I need to use it, I don't hesitate. If I need to press undo, it's
for sure.
I don't want to undo. I have too much pride in my drawing or whatever. It's like, no, I use it as much as I need. It's just a tool. If you need to undo, then undo. It's part of the process. For sure.
Okay, and then I think we can do this shot here. You know, he just sort of comes out between these two bushes.
So Mike, the approach that you're using here, is this what you would call like storyboarding for a rigged show? Like this is the same process that you'd use for a rigged show?
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. If you notice, a lot of this stuff is very conducive to a rigged animation. Like, I mean, there are a couple of special poses here and there, but for the most part, we've got pretty riggable, animatable stuff.
Yeah. So this character would just be his own rig, and he'd be on top of a background layer. Maybe right here there might be like an overlay of a bush.
Yeah, the bush would probably be an overlay.
An underlay or something. Or a background. For sure. All right, let's see. All right, so you were talking earlier about when you need a special pose or something that's more dynamic or more pushed than what the rig is built for. Is that something that you would hesitate to do often? Like, are you thinking about, do you ever think, I shouldn't do that because it's going to break the rig, or it's going to be more expensive?
It's definitely going to be more expensive. I mean, budgetary concerns aside, like, you know, there's parts of stuff that you can do that you can rig just a portion of it and then hand draw the rest. And if that's for like specialty shots, I mean, there was a show called Motor City that did that quite a bit back in the day, where they had like a rigged head and then they would animate the body. So you can totally do that in Harmony. You can have like a rigged head and just like use that to do like more specialty shots with if you want to like hand animate the rest. There's all kinds of different methodologies.
I think that show was doing like a lot of, was that Robert Valley design? Is that what that was?
Yeah, I think so.
They did a lot of that like forced perspective. It looks so cool.
Oh yeah. Robert Valley's stuff is always really dynamic.
Yeah, he worked on those Love, Death, and Robot shows too.
Oh yeah, he's done a ton of stuff. He did that one Tron show for Disney back in the day.
Cool designs.
TVA.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Even they're using it, the rigged stuff.
Oh yeah. Use rigged stuff all the time.
All right. I got other questions, but some of them you already answered actually. So I'm like kind of like, oops, we already went through that.
Let's hear who asked them and the particular phrasing that they used.
Well, our chat is actually a little quiet right now, so if any of our audience has any more questions, feel free to ask. A couple of them were just the questions that I had written down myself, but yeah, if you're in the chat, feel free to ask anything, or if you have any special funny requests and you're trying to get Mike to draw anything that you're just dying to see. I know I'm dying to see a robot Easter bunny, but I will maintain my patience.
Okay, I just realized we needed a foreground element.
There's that pot of gold.
And then in this one here, we can have him just
Is he making a deposit?
Yep.
Man, I wish I could find a pot of gold. It falls some rainbows, I guess.
Oh, yeah. I mean, go for it, dude. Follow that optical illusion as far as you can take it. I think another thing too is we can get a little bit of something out of this. So I think what is going to happen right here is that he hears a bit more of a hollow sound than what he was expecting. No,
suspicious.
Let's make sure.
So what's really awesome, Mike, is like you started drawing this leprechaun, the drop of a hat, and you didn't have a model sheet or anything. How do you do that? Can you tell our audience how you do that? Is that just practice or?
I don't know. Sometimes you just develop a shorthand over time, with just like, oh, well, hey, let's draw this thing, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with various, you know, just your visual library that you cultivate within your own artwork, you know? We all have sort of like a certain sense of various things in our lives, and you know, sometimes you get used to drawing on the fly in the story room.
Right.
It's just something that you acclimate to over time. I mean, I also spent a good deal of time as a caricature artist, so that helps
really
significantly. Yeah. Well, I mean, I used to do various. It was just mainly private parties.
I've done it once for a friend. It was fun. It's a good time.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, a lot of artists, at least here in Southern California, get their starts doing that because there's all these like theme parks and stuff. So you get people at Knott's, or you'll get people at Disneyland or wherever, and they're
Yeah. Well, you know
they get
that
hired to be characters.
some big names in current Hollywood now. I know that one particular DreamWorks director started out doing caricatures of Magic Mountain,
Yeah, yeah.
and now he's directing features.
Who's that? Do you know? I mean, of course.
I
You know,
I would not care to say.
okay.
Because I don't know if he's cool with people knowing that. So
Got it. That makes sense.
you know, I don't want to be like, oh hey, I'm just gonna tell your entire history to everyone that is on my stream just for funsies. You know?
Yeah, that makes sense. Definitely.
So we'll just put a little ground plane here, some, you know, clovers, some all the clovers around this area are all 4-leafed.
Of course.
Grass and such. And then we'll put just the single coin we could even put like the head leprechaun a little shocked too.
I was just thinking, might be funny if it's like you do that shot of inside of the pot and the coin just slowly like it's sucked through like a hole in the bottom, you know, or something. Might be a fun shot, but I guess there's other ways for a bunny to get gold. Right. Or maybe the bunny has like, because it's a robot bunny, it's got like a little drill or something, you know?
Me pot of gold. He like, you know, grabs the hat off his head. So that's a terrible hand. Where is it all gone?
I love it, Mike. And for the viewers, there is a way to record your voice straight into Storyboard Pro if you so wanted to, which is pretty cool. We call that Scratch. So it's like if Mike really wanted to, he could just say record, and he could use his microphone on his computer to record voices. Even if it's not a final audio, you could just put in Scratch and then use it as a placeholder or something so you could show other people your little animatic and have voices to it.
Yeah, that's a really handy feature. I don't know if a lot of people use it, but you can totally do that.
Yeah, they don't. I don't really see that a lot, but if you're just working on your own project, you know, especially not something, typically on big productions, they'll have their own people recording the Scratch. But yeah, if it's like your own little project and you just need a voice, you can just do it yourself or get your friend to do a voice real quick. You just hit record on the, or you go into the audio and you can just record it yourself. It's super simple.
Yep. So here we can add a little bit of like, where did it go? You know.
Yep.
Oops. Just zoom in on this, make sure I got the right keyframes. Yes, I do. So where did it all go? And that's when he'll hear
evil laughter. All right. Jeffrey, thank you for all your comments. He has a question about the Simpsons workflow. So I guess, Mike, you'd be the one to answer this. Are all the drawings done by different artists, or is there a specific artist that's tied down the whole outlook of each character sheet?
Oh, there's different artists for sure. There's all kinds of different artists there, and they're all really great, good friends. And yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of different artists there. That job is way too big for just one person.
And you'd even get like
I'm gonna share this drawing right here too. Yeah, yeah. There's artists that have worked on that show for a couple of decades now, and they know what they're doing.
And you could even get multiple artists that would work on one drawing. So this drawing that Mike just did, this beautiful leprechaun freaking out about his pot of gold, like in a full production, something like The Simpsons, even, I imagine, Mike might do this drawing, and then he hands it off, and maybe somebody else will end up just cleaning it up and making it, more presentable to non-artists. So you'll have multiple people working on one drawing. It's very much like that
in the design department for sure. Yeah, I mean, you'll have and it, I didn't work in the design department when I was on The Simpsons, but I mean, I was around it quite a bit, and a lot of people clean up their own stuff. Some sort of, if they can, we'll hand it off, but
yeah, it's like there's a position in storyboard or in animation pipelines called storyboard revisionist, which is actually, I was working as a storyboard revisionist when I first met Mike.
Yeah.
And yeah, it would sometimes, if there's not any big changes to do, like acting or restaging shots or changing the acting, the directors might just say, hey, could you just clean up these drawings and fill them with white so they're standing away from the background. So sometimes, yeah, what you're seeing is hardly ever just is one artist's like drawing. It's not like, oh, this whole thing was done by one artist. It's like a team. A lot of it is a team effort. Animation is very much, I find, a team effort. You've got some exceptions of people that are very independent with their processes, but it's rare.
Yeah. I mean, I've known animators that definitely, like, they don't ever want to use an assistant because they have kind of a process that they use that, sort of defines their work. So, using an assistant might sort of mess up what they've got going just because, they have a very specific idea of what they want.
Is that in production pipelines? You see that?
I mean, not quite as often, but you can see it. And for screen direction purposes, I'm going to do like one of these, slide reveals. Right here, we're going to start him here. Oops, can we cancel that? I'm going to move him over here. This will be like sort of like a multi-plane type move. We're just going to fake it for right now. So grab this guy though, and we'll put him on layer C.
All right, Mike. We are actually running low on time. We've only got 10 minutes left.
Okay. Good to know.
You're going to have to run the animatic soon, just so you know.
Right.
We had a couple other questions come up. I guess we could try to get through them real quick. I know you're going to be focused on getting these drawings done because you're in crunch time now, but do you have any advice for people who want to get into 2D rigged traditional storyboarding position? I know where to start. I don't know where to start for preparing a portfolio.
Just, it rigged animation for storyboards. Just make good storyboards. Just, make good storyboards and think if you really want to do like specifically for rigged animation, like get your storytelling down first, and then the process that you would use to sort of do some sort of specialty item will, it'll emerge over time.
Yeah, and like I recommend
just be a good storyteller first. That would be first and foremost advice.
And of course, get ToonBoom because it is industry standard. Got to learn this program. It's so great.
I mean, we all use it, so
yeah. Let's see. Synth0202 says, I find it challenging to find an audio for the storyboard project. Yeah, if you were to if you're trying to re-storyboard something that's already been done, you might even, if it's for personal use, just record it on your phone, whatever it is, or record it straight into the computer. If you want to do a storyboard of like your favorite movie scene, you could just record that audio. Of course, it's for personal use at that point, but then just storyboard something along to that audio.
Yeah, for sure.
Lead says, how helpful do you find Scratch with acting?
It can be helpful, especially if it's your own project. But I find for professional projects, I like to have the voice read of the actor themselves, because, when you're boarding to this kind of stuff, you want to make sure that it's about as accurate as it can get.
Yeah.
To the final product.
Also, thanks for joining us, Lead. He's a coworker of mine. So, what's up?
Sweet.
All right, Mike, we got to see that animatic.
Okay. Just going to do a couple more little things, and then we'll do that. So, boom.
Easter Bunny robot. But where's the coins? I feel like he'd have to have like a secret compartment in his chest. Like the leprechaun looks up and they're just like piled up in like a compartment in his chest, and then it just closes like locks all the coins up,
Sure. Like maybe we'll
coins.
just put like all the gold coins in here, and he's just got a chest of gold coins.
Yeah, and then it just like zips up.
Let's go in. Let's get the color, right color. Sometimes just doing a little fill operation is nice. The fill tool, I use it all the time. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Got a quick key for that.
And then we'll do
some Super Smash Brothers stuff or something.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know where they use this, but it makes me think of that. All right, we got a couple of last-minute questions rolling in, and we'll try to answer them all before we got to go. We got about 5 minutes left. All right. All right. So what is the 1 feet? Okay, yeah, Mike, you want to show us what you got going on?
All right, we start out with a rainbow coming down into a forest in post-rained merry old Ireland. And then we see a leprechaun come out of the bushes. Back in. Looks around. Then jumps out. Oh, nobody's here. And then pulls out a gold coin and begins to twiddle it in his fingers. And then we see him pop it up and then zoom in on it really fast. Zoom. And we see the king of the leprechauns. And he lifts his hat. Good day, TSR, you know. And then he just kind of, you know, clicks his heels a couple times, whoop, and then jumps into the bushes. He comes forward and sounds really hollow. What? There's only the one coin in there. And if we had more time, we would zoom in on the coin and be like, I don't know, you know. Yeah. He's so shocked. Hi, Bigora, what's become of me gold? What's become of me pot of gold? And then we hear and he looks up, all concerned and angry, and we sort of reveal this bunny. He says, the Easter Bunny sends his regards. These gold coins will make fine coating for our eggs. And then that's when the showdown begins.
Then we go into some crazy action stuff.
Yeah, and then Aaron, that's due next week. Please board that.
Okay, when you say next week, do you mean end of day Friday or beginning of the day Monday?
I mean, by end of week, I mean Tuesday night.
Tuesday night.
So we got to get into editorial. So thank you everybody for all of your contributions to the Collaboratory.
Thank you. Fun. Yeah. All right, Mike, I got a little spiel to say here, everybody. And Mike, thank you for joining us once again for Collaboratory. Real quick, do you have any projects or topics that you would like to draw our attention to, Mike?
At the moment, the only thing I can think of is check out IMAG masterclasses. I was recently able to do a talk about some of the underlying story. My talk was called The Underlying Story, talking about staging, symbolism, and subtext. You can find it on IMAG masterclasses at iamag.co. And check out Sketch to Screen Summit when the website changes from slanimationexpo.com.
All right. And you could find my storyboard portfolio online. I think the link will be in the description below when it's posted on YouTube, at least. AaronPaetz.portfolio.com, I think. I don't know. It could be wrong. I haven't been on there in a little bit. But
just look at
thank
the
you,
link.
everyone. Yeah, just look for the link. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for Collaboratory. And if Mike Morris can draw leprechauns and Easter bunny robots and Ireland landscape in an hour, think about what you can draw in 3 weeks. And you can download a 21-day trial of Storyboard Pro from our website at toonboom.com and find free video tutorials at learn.toonboom.com. And if you're looking for more interviews, be sure to visit blog.toonboom.com for articles about storyboarding, animation, and 2D games.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Bye, everybody.
I don't know when this is officially going to end, but we're done. Now we can just joke around for, I think, about 45 seconds.